The Newburgh Dundee Public Schools Board now comes to session and call to order. So we'll rise and have a flag salute. Board members are going to recess executive session as per ORS 192.6602E to conduct deliberations with person designated by the governing body to negotiate real estate transactions. ORS 192.6602F to consider records exempt from law from public inspection. And ORS 192.6622I to review and evaluate the employment-related performance of the chief executive officer of any public body, a public officer, employee, or staff member who does not request an open hearing. So the meeting is now recessed for executive session. The board is back from executive session. The first agenda item, are there any additions or deletions to the board agenda?
Yeah, Nancy, I'd like to circle back to, it's just in the discussion, so I guess section 7.
Okay,
Understand a little bit more what the personnel committee is supposed to be doing and
okay.
potentially submit for another committee.
The personnel committee, and pardon?
And maybe after that dialogue, I may suggest or request an additional committee, but depending on what the outcome of that dialogue is.
Okay, so under discussion. Okay. Any other additions or deletions to the agenda? Okay. First is the consent agenda, which lists out new hires, the board minutes, out of district travel for the trap shooting team, some surplus items, and some donations, which we're always very grateful for. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented? Not on?
I'll move that we accept the Newburgh School District Board of Directors accept the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion or questions about the consent agenda? I always think it's important to highlight that the Newburgh Education Foundation gave $650. This is incentives for state testing, if I'm correct. And then the Rotary, Afternoon Rotary, gave $900 for the senior awards night for Catalyst to celebrate graduating students. And somebody anonymous gave Catalyst $500 for guitar class. So thank you to those people. If there's no discussion, all those in favor of accepting the consent agenda? Aye. Okay, unanimous. And no one opposed. Thank you. Public forum. We have 3 people who have requested to speak in public forum. The first is Susan Lauthan, please.
All right. Good evening, board members. I'd like to commend Stephen for such a great job you did this year and last year. I really appreciate your hard work, and I feel like you've really upgraded education since you've been here. So thank you for being here. And I'd like to commend Renee Powell for the hard work that she's done in the years that she's been here. I really appreciate what you bring to the board. You're always very peaceful and quiet, but yet you also have a voice in that. And it just seems like you bring a calm demeanor to the board. So I really appreciate that. I'm going to be sad that you're not here. So thank you for your work. I've got a article by the ACLU website. I got it off their website on religious displays. And I just thought it was interesting. I was rereading it since the Rotary Club is putting in a peace poll at the new Dundee school, and that caught my attention on YouTube. So I thought I'd review this information. It's interesting on the second page of this, and it is footnoted by SCOTUS, two different cases that the Supreme Court actually is putting this sentence in. So I'm going to read it to you. It's under the privately owned religious displays on public property. It's that same theme that I've been trying to ask you guys to take a donation for a cross and put it at CV. There's a peace garden there. There's also a peace pole, and this would be in addition to something that represents peace for people that do celebrate religion in a Christian sort of way, and it would be privately owned on government property. But this is what ACLU website is reporting out on the Supreme Court decisions. The government must allow all groups, religious or otherwise, equal access to the property. That's the school property. Any government property, if you have allowed one group like the Rotary Club to come in and put peace poles on all the properties, you must allow all groups, religious or otherwise, equal access to that property. And I thought that was a new That was new to me. I didn't know if I had read it last time that I asked for this. The owner of the display should take steps to minimize confusion over the ownership. Usually a simple message indicating the display is privately owned is enough. I'm gonna email you this instead of paper, because I know you guys like to minimize the paper usage, but I can email you this article and you can read all the footnotes down here that it lists all the court cases. So that's awesome. So basically, we're in a time where we might be facing World War III. Peace is an important concept, and peace, representing peace in a variety of manners in front of all the schools, would be an appropriate time in history to do that. And so I'm just asking to reconsider, and I will email you this so that I know I saw that. So I'm just saying, I'm going to email it to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next person is Rebecca Wallace.
Good evening. Renee Powell has been a great asset to the school board, providing a point of view that represents about 50% of the residents within the Newburgh-Dundee School District. And I'd like to thank the other 50% she speaks for as well, because she has done a really good job trying to represent everyone to the best of her ability. She continued to be kind and thoughtful and even respectful in her dialogue with fellow board members and community members, even though she had been doxxed by a lot of folks in the community. The type of people that engaged in the doxing was surprising and disheartening, most of which have not apologized to her to this day. She was doxxed by staff of the school district, teachers of the school district, fellow board members that she served with at the school district. And there were many ugly conversations in a Facebook group that they thought somehow gave them a free pass to act so terribly and speak to so much just really bad choices in what they wanted to say about Renee. The ugly conversations in that group even included the chair of the Oregon State Board of Education. They devised a plan in that group to get her artwork removed from places that displayed it, and even devised the path within that group on how they were going to bring forth a lawsuit against her. All of this within the first 2 months of her tenure of being on the school board, within the first 2 months of being a volunteer for this school district. I know many people think this is old news, but it's not. The same angry people are still engaged in lawsuits with Renee and others. They still come to board meetings and they still demand people resign. Well, today's her last day with the Newburgh School Board, and I think this is bittersweet for her. And I think that this school board can learn a lot from the actions that happened over the last 3 years. And I know that the school board said they ran on some things when they ran for this school district and weren't completely truthful in what they ran on. And we found out recently that that's true based off of like what a campaign manager said about why they ran the new school board. What I'm hoping is that no matter what you ran on, no matter what you said before, that you can take the actions of what's happened over the school board over the last 4 years and that you can change for the better. And you can say, yeah, we did those things. We're not going to do them again. We're going to be different instead. And I really hope that we can maybe stop the discouragement of people coming and holding the board accountable, because that needs to stop too.
Thank you. Next speaker is Brandon Casey, please.
Okay, so 2 things. First, the COA program is a great program, deserves all the support that it wants. It should get. It's a good program. Secondly, so I wasn't here at the last board meeting when all 7 of you saw fit to not hold the teacher accountable and just let that completely skate. But the board meeting before that, where you guys had an executive session, you guys all saw the information. Two of you, surprisingly, had the courage to vote to non-renew that teacher because you knew what she did was wrong. I'm assuming that your left-wing masters, your teachers union, came to you and told you how you were going to vote. And that was the reason that you were installed up here to do that, because all 7 of you said, no, we don't care. We don't care what she did. Doesn't matter. Totally fine. We don't care that she sat there and abused a kid. We don't care that all the terrible things that she did. And the fact that she did that to a
Chair,
kid.
could you please stop? This is attacking the teacher.
I never named the teacher.
Well,
I can't come up here and make a public comment.
Okay, yep, go ahead.
All the things that she did that you guys all saw. I mean, there was a record of all of it. And you, 2 of you held her accountable. Then you decided, nope, we're not going to do that. We're just going to let her, we're going to let her resign. No, nobody gets held accountable for that. I've never, then you actually had a board member in the last time I was here, come in here and accuse me of committing a crime that I never did. Guy fabricated the whole thing. And no accountability for that either. I've never seen a board that has absolutely no accountability whatsoever, ever. I mean, if there's any danger to this school district and these kids, it's you. I mean, I've never seen anything like this in my life. I mean, I was hopeful when I saw 2 of you stand up and do the right thing that maybe that's how this board was going to operate. People were just going to operate not based on left, right. We're just going to do the right thing. But no, not a chance. Not a chance. I've never seen, and 2 of you initially didn't even want to do anything at all. You said, hey, we don't care one bit. We have no problem with that whatsoever. Just let it go. I've never seen evil like that in my life. It's just flat evil. That anybody could sit there and do that. It's disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. That any of you could sit there and say that that's okay and nobody gets held accountable for it. Nobody. Well, here's the deal. When I was in here, I told you, if you don't hold this person accountable, I will file a lawsuit, which I will. And I'm going to hold people that accuse me of things that I didn't do responsible as well. It's just beyond conscionable. So now you can deal with my lawsuit.
Thank you. We have one other statement that was written that was submitted by Irene Dunlap. It was Newburgh School Board members. Thank you for your tireless work on behalf of Newburgh students. The recent lawsuit filing naming Superintendent Phillips contains copious evidence that he is not a safe or suitable leader for our school district. He is now a known threat to the safety of Newburgh children. Please act to remove this known threat to the safety of Newburgh children. Please act to remove this known threat to our district relationship with Dr. Phillips. This isn't reading right. His primary responsibility is to ensure the safety of our children through staff vetting and management. The lawsuit brings to light gross negligence on his behalf in this area. Our 13-year-old daughter, who attends Newburgh Public School, read parts of the lawsuit and asked if it would be legal for her to carry pepper spray or a taser to school. She is scared with reason. She does not believe she is safe at school. From the way we now know, abuse of students, drugs supplied by teacher, inappropriate relationship between teacher and student, which turned out to be rape, was handled by the Jewel School District. I agree with her. She is not safe at school, and there is no potential for her being safe at school as long as Superintendent Phillips remains employed by the Newburgh School District. Please fulfill your responsibility as a board to protect the children of the Newburgh community by removing Superintendent Phillips from your employment. Sincerely, concerned parent, Eileen Dunlap. We now have presentations. The first one is a bond update by Casey Cunningham.
Hi. Thanks for having me. It's been a little while since I'll be able to give this update. But things are still going very well. Go ahead and go next slide. So I'll just start. Just I don't know if you've all been able to get out to Dundee much lately, but just kind of an aerial photo of what we got. You know, we got a lot of exterior finishes are nearing completion. Most of the brick is done. We're starting to head towards the metal panels where you still see some of the blue there. You can see some of the asphalt's been done. The curb is installed, sidewalks. Been working closely with our City of Dundee partners to make sure that we're getting the proper signage and crosswalks to keep make a safe path for all the students in the neighborhoods to get to this new school. And then as we get finished with the asphalt, we're gonna start working on some of the play areas out back. But it's looking really good. We're really proud of what we had. Our team continues to strive to make good decisions out there, and we got drywall finishes going on inside, and we're headed towards completion in August. It's going really well, so we're really excited. Financially, we're doing well there too, and I'll kind of show that to you in the next slide. So this is kind of the bond summary I've been presenting to you guys periodically throughout the bond. So I just want to take you to basically our column F, which is our uncommitted budget, which is essentially the money that we have not spent. And when I say have not spent, like right now we have a number of projects that I'll get to in the next slide for the projects that are going on at Newburgh High School, Maple Rush, Catalyst, district-wide locks, and then also a solar project that are taking up some of the money that's, you know, we've already committed that money. So like we've hired the contractor, their contracts are worth, you know, $500,000. That money's tracked in column D. And so the 5 million was what's remaining to be paid, and also includes contingencies within the projects, and then also a program contingency. And so
Do you have the ability to zoom that so that we can actually read it?
I don't. There we go.
Here.
Yes, a little bit.
Yeah, so I guess the column 5,158,000 is what's remaining in the uncommitted. But as I said, we within those line items is project contingencies, but line 17 is our program contingency at 2,493,000, and then bond maintenance funds at 445,043. So one of the things I really want to emphasize to you guys, and Dr. Phillips and I went through this earlier today, is prior to the bond, we established a list of projects, you know, that were the bond promise, as we talked about, which is, you know, the new Dundee Elementary School, the CTE wing at the high school, expansion of Edwards, and redo the cafeteria. Those things were on our list. We've done all that. We've done all the tier 1, tier 2 maintenance projects and the tier 3. And we also, during the whole, you know, when we met with teachers and staff about and maintenance teams, what was happening at the schools, what needed immediate fixing that wasn't on the list, we added those to the list, and we achieved all of those. And this is what is remaining after we've committed to those projects this summer. So we're really excited to kind of present to you guys, you know, what we want to do with the rest of that money, and kind of give you guys kind of a look at what is, you know, what we're going to recommend. So flip to the next slide. So this summer, we did an analysis of all the district-wide classrooms. We still had about 100 that didn't have locking on both sides for the classroom function. So that's the top of the list. We're already started working on that. We're expecting our first deliveries here in the next couple of weeks. We'll start installing those as soon as we get them on nights and weekends to get those classroom function lock sets district-wide. And that includes a lot of this is actually like panic hardware. You know, you go into like, you know, the double doors like that. They didn't actually have those locks. It's a lot less of the classrooms, but the kind of the bigger areas where we have those. So make sure we get all of those taken care of, and then the teachers have the ability to lock their classrooms no matter what space they're inside. So that's priority 1 for this summer. Next is our auditorium, and there's a particular wing of the high school roof that needs a roof replacement. And that's slated for this summer. The Catalyst parapet repair. So the existing building had it was leaking right at the edge of the flashings, like where the parapet wall comes down. Like if you look, it's a flat wall, right? So there's like this parapet, and it was allowing water and air leakage in there, and So we're gonna address that this summer. Required some structural repair as well. And then our last school to get a generator, which was one of our resiliency part of the bond, we were making the entire district resilient. So we got new generators everywhere. Maybe we'll rush to our last school that needed a generator. So we'll get that done this summer. We technically won't have the generator this summer because I don't know if you know this, but procurement of generators has been the one thing that hasn't come back since COVID, and they're still a year out. So we're going in, we do all the infrastructure, get the electrical lines ran so that when it does land sometime December, January next year, we'll get that installed immediately. But the pad and everything will be there, so it's easy. We don't interrupt the classrooms at that point in time. And then last for our summer projects, GET stands for green energy technology. It's a state program. Any new building that we build with public funds, we have to put 1.5% of that towards either solar or hydrothermal. We chose solar, and we're actually doing it at Ewing Young. So we had the field to the east of the school. We built a fenced area, and we actually ran the infrastructure last summer with the conduit and piping into the electric room. And this summer, they're actually landing the solar panels. And so what I say is it's for Dundee, but it's at Ewing Young. And that the reason we did that is because it gets the best solar in the district as far as the elevation, the locations, and where that's at. We'll be able to utilize that the most. We also have 2 essential functions that run year round there with the well and also the septic pump. So those can be ran in the summer without utilizing the entire solar. So that was a good project for us, and that we're excited to get that one done. And I think it's a real benefit to the district that, you know, when you're forced to kind of when you're forced to spend money, you know, how do you do it properly and the best stewards of the dollars? And so we think we did that. So excited about that for this summer. And then last slide. This is kind of, you know, Dr. Phillips and I put this together based on you know, what's remaining. And so that was kind of what I was showing you guys in that first thing is our program contingency, and then the bond maintenance line 4, and then the uncommitted costs. So we're allocating $750,000 of what's remaining in the allocated costs. There was about 1.7. And so we're keeping $1 million for project contingencies for this summer, and we're allocating $750,000 towards future projects. And then our construction excise tax is a $1.5 million. So we have about $5.2 million worth of funds available for additional projects to do next summer. And so the projects that have been highlighted to us from our maintenance teams out there are the Joan Austin roof, and then also similar to what we did over here at Edwards, was just basically repainting and resealing all the brick on the entire building, doing that district wide at all of the buildings. Crater, CV need it. Ewing Young got it done already, so we don't have to go out to Ewing Young. And then the high school has a lot of buildings that need resealed that are have aged significantly. And then also Maple Rush needs a repaint, and then Joan Austin, even though it's fairly new, we get ahead of it with the money that's available before it needs that as well. So the exterior sill projects, and then the high school flooring, there's a significant number of classrooms that have kind of what we call rolled carpet. This is similar to this, but obviously to get a lot of use, and it's I think it's about 20 years old, and so it's starting to show a lot of ripples and lines, and so it's definitely outlived its useful life. Replace that flooring project. And then kind of the big project that's on there is doing synthetic turf for the softball and baseball infields, and then a new multi-purpose synthetic turf field that would go in between the high school and Mountain View, kind of north of the tennis courts there. So Cornerstone recently did this in it Canby School District, the same exact 3 fields, and we added inflation and got to that estimate of $2.3 million for that project. And then lastly, we still have a significant infrastructure that we've improved as part of the bond with the tech and the additional square footage and maintenance that's out there that we have, you know, extended using some of the remaining funds to pay for the additional staff required to get those over the next year and a half before the bond funds run out, usually utilizing some of that money to pay for some of that staff that was required.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
Are you saying this has already been approved or
Oh, no,
whatever,
no,
work on
this
these,
is-
or this is your proposal and estimation of these?
Yeah, so it's basically, we are coming to you saying that we see about $500,000 in funds. This is the kind of the projects that are in need and kind of putting in, and we aren't requiring a vote by any means today. Of like a thought of how is this the proper way to spend these funds and getting your kind of agreement that we're heading in the right direction. Correct, Dr. Phillips?
Yeah, it is only a recommendation that the board can do what you want with.
Right, but then last month, we just had a committee started, which is me and Director DeHart, looking at our extra funds and what to do with it. So I definitely would maybe like to sit down with you two, and this is my request, I don't know about Director DeHart, but and talk about this and understand why these things are on the list. And you know, I'll be honest, I'll be right now concerned of spending over $2 million on turf fields when that wasn't part of the bond. Is there's going to be some people that are excited and there's going to be some people that are be upset about it. So, yeah, I'd like to learn more about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to spend time kind of getting up to speed on kind of where the projects came from and just kind of the value in them. I just kind of moved through the slides a little quickly. Any questions on any of the other ones that were there?
I'm just wondering, is there a timeline of, I mean, like some of these projects are big projects to get them completed and use the bond money
So
with.
I mean a year from design to finish for these size of projects good. So I would say by the end of summer we would need to have that decision made. So August.
We get a copy of this PowerPoint.
Yeah. Anything else?
I just like to thank Casey. Him and his team have done a great job. Getting through priorities 1, 2, 3, plus some additional ones with millions left over. That's great work.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Actually, I just have a quick question. So can I presume that there's some type of contingency fund for the Dundee Elementary Schools or when they're up and running
Yeah, go ahead. Can you flip back 2 slides for me?
and they are suddenly deciding, oh, we need new toilet paper rolls or I don't know what?
Yeah, so if you could see, like a lot of our projects are closed already, like right, so Edwards, Ewing Young, and they still have money that are in that uncommitted line item. We don't generally close out a budget until we feel like we're, like you say, we're running, right? I mean, we know that everything's working right, everything's there. So right now we have $1 million in that Dundee contingency. Obviously, we'll be able to get that done much lower. I mean, and even right now, as we're in May, we're going to open in August. We know that dollar amount is way more than we need at this point in time. And so I've allocated some of that money towards that $750,000 that we saw in there. So we know that we're not going to need all that, but we definitely aren't going to deplete all that for these other projects either. There's still a significant amount of money that's in there to cover things like, because when you open a new school, you're going to find you can't think of everything on a piece of paper, right? So.
If there's no further questions, thank you very much.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Principal presentations, Dundee Elementary, Tim Wright.
We're always getting that loaded up. I'll say this. Thank you for being here. Thank you for serving in this role. I know it's not a role where you get a ton of thanks. No public boards seem to be, but I know that you guys are all here as volunteers because you want to be, and you commit yourself and your time and your energy and your thought to what's best for kids and represent our community. So thank you for that. I'm excited to share tonight. I love sharing about the work that our staff is doing. I believe in our staff. We've got a great staff. And we've got a great group of kids, and I believe in what they're doing too, to work hard every day to pursue excellence, become their best. I've got a few pictures with a few slides with just photos, and I'll share some information as they. Or do I need to turn this on? Here. We're good. Like I said, we've got a great staff. 2 things that I've told every staff member I've hired and that we talk about as a staff is that you need to love kids and work hard, and we're going to be successful. And I can tell you that our staff loves kids and they work hard. And so when Tabitha sent the form that talks about, you know, some opportunities to share at the board presentation, she asked for a couple of strengths. And the first strength that I thought of was the culture that we've set at school. I truly believe that all of our kids are excited to be part of our school community. Maybe not excited about school every day because life's hard and home is hard and there's extenuated circumstances, but they're all proud to be Dundee Dolphins. And they all feel that our school does feel like a home school to them. It's an extension of their home and we're an extension of their family. Our families and our students report that they feel this too. So we participate in the Youth Truth climate surveys. You guys have heard about that. I think you'll even hear more from Jillian tonight about those. Our staff had the highest, and several of our marks in the Youth Truth survey came in as the highest marks in the Newburgh Dundee Public Schools, but also highest in the ESD and a couple even highest in the state. And some of those were related to culture. It's something we work hard at by working to love kids through our actions, by greeting them every day at the door, by getting to know them personally, by committing to them and building a relationship with them in and outside of the classroom. Our students also reported this. 99%, our student reported belonging was in the 99th percentile. It was the highest in Oregon and one of the highest in the nation, which was something I was super proud of. I want students to feel like they belong at school. And I think that our ultimate goal of learning, it needs to be preceded by that belonging and the culture that we set. So these are just a few pictures of our kids engaged in learning. All of these are learning activities, 100th day of school for kindergarten, a play that was put on with our ESL teacher and our 5th grade teacher working together to give our students a chance to do some speaking in 5th grade. And they presented a couple different grade levels, and our 5th grade car races, which are a really cool engineering project that it's become a tradition at Maple Rush. And it's a really great project, not only in the implementation of the engineering, but in the writing that students are required to do about their cars and the thinking process of how they evaluate and make improvements and rationalize what worked and what didn't. All great learning experiences that are part of the culture of excitement about learning. We want to be belonging, but we want to be learners. A huge piece of that culture is also in our relationships. Like I shared, students report belonging, but our staff also were really high in their report of relationships among staff. 81% of our staff reported that they feel that they have strong relationships with students and families, which is really great because those families need to be our partner. Students, 100th percentile, when they report their relationships between students and staff, they were as high as you could score. So it was really cool to see that report for our students. And it's our 5th grade students that take the Youth Truth survey, but I think that is a picture that when you ask our students, does staff here care about you? Yes. They want you to do your best. Yes. So they're going to ask you to make choices that support that. Right? And that allows us to help them continue to grow. Like I said, our staff is doing good work and they love kids. A few of these pictures, we had a attendance challenge. I'll talk a little bit about attendance later. We did a little attendance March Madness this year where classes competed for the best attendance. And we had a little trophy called the Attendance Cup, which classes are now competing to take from Mrs. Smith's class, they've been holding that since the first week of April. We have a quick character recognition assembly every month where we talk about a character trait that we've been learning about and recognize students. And there was one with some of our 5th grade leaders on that one, teaching kindergarten some robotic skills, which was a project that they thought of. They wanted to do something to help younger students, and they thought that helping them with some of the robotics work would be fun. So some little bit of coding robots. It's fun working with a staff that is building relationship, that builds a strong culture and is engaged, but we also need additional partners. And we've had some great community partners. We partner with the George Fox nursing program. They send nursing students who volunteer. Each nursing student volunteers about 200 hours at our school during their tenure. It's one of their clinical rotations, and they volunteer in classrooms to help students learning. And they also, while they're there, are observing to create a community health project. So we've had community health projects this year about screen time for kids, and they teach a quick lesson at the end of their time of volunteering about screen time's effect. We've had a community health project about sleep and a community health project about hygiene. And they've all been really well received from different grade levels that they've worked with. These are just a few of our 4th graders with 3 of our nursing students. They had some prizes because these students all chose to participate in a volunteer sleep log and bring those back and report about how they felt their sleep had impacted their learning. So they were excited to get some small rewards from the nursing students. We have amazing parents, and we have parents that come and volunteer on a weekly basis. We have parents that can't because they're at work, and they'll come in and volunteer for a unique experience like a field trip or outdoor school, or maybe even just once a year to come and read with their class or to help with a classroom project. But we welcome all the parent volunteers we can get. We love to show them what we're doing. We love to give them a chance to be hands-on with our kids too, as they see the learning that's happening at school. In addition, we have community volunteers. We have retired teachers who come in regularly. We have a couple community volunteers who have just been long-term volunteers from Dundee that like to come in and help with prep work and help teachers make copies, like to help teachers laminate and do those things. So we're excited to have them. We have group non-parent volunteers that come in and read with kids through a program called Read Naturally, and our reading teacher, and Rossman, supervises that. Trevor's been part of that work. So thanks, Trevor. I know he's enjoyed it because I've seen his smile as he reads with kids, and it helps our kids because these are kids who are in the margins reading wise and need some extra practice with fluency. And we're able to utilize volunteers to help with that practice. Our parent group is amazing. They spend countless hours planning activities, fundraising, and thinking about ways to build into that culture and how to support the goals that we have as a school. Part of that parent group is also serves on the auction committee. We just held our auction this year. We had a hiatus in our auction after COVID, and they brought it back last year. And then this year they had an even larger and more successful event. So it was both a lot of fun that night and was a great fundraiser for our school. So we appreciate our volunteers. It's a huge strength. We look forward to our future. One of the things that I tell a lot of people is, are you excited about the new building? I'm excited like I would be moving in a new home, but really I'm excited because it draws attention to our learning community and the work that we're already doing. Our hope is to continue doing really good work to serve students well in a new space that draws attention to that work, because I think that work that our staff is doing is attention worthy. Recently, our staff had a chance to go, our licensed staff in this picture had a chance to go visit the classroom spaces and start imagining how those would look. We did a little walkthrough where they had a mock-up of where the cupboards would be and where the whiteboards would be to make sure those were the right height. Then we could make adjustments and talk about where we needed outlets and connectivity within the classrooms. Casey and I chose a great same picture, the outside today. He's got great taste. Appreciate the images that they bring to us that we get to share with the community as well. So we look forward to getting there. And like Casey said, substantial completion will be in August. And then we are hesitantly anticipating the move because that's not the fun part. You've all moved, but we'll be excited when we're in. All of this is the goal of all of this. Our culture, our engagement volunteers, our building is hopefully going, it does support our goal of learning and our goal of helping students grow and make their next steps. We have students who are engaged in learning in a variety of ways. I get to put a lot of pictures on social media that our parents and community like to see. And it's always fun to put this fun stuff like kids eating ice cream or kids eating lunch in the sun or kids playing a fun learning game or doing a STEM project. But I love when I walk in and see them grinding away and doing hard work and writing and struggling with writing, or working to have math conversations where they're talking about how they can break down math problems and have those small math talks where they're explaining their learning to each other. Those are my favorite moments. They don't show up well in pictures, but they're happening all the time. And it's super fun to see. Our scores show some of that work. Our scores on our Youth Truth support that we are challenging students. 92% of our students report they're challenged at school on that survey. So we were, again, the highest in the ESD, highest in Oregon. 99% of them reported they liked our instructional methods, which I kind of tease our teachers is they should give you evaluation. They think your instructional methods are fantastic, but our teachers have strong methods, and it was nice to see our students recognize that. Our OSAS data supports learning. Last year's OSAS scores seem old. They are old. We're in the process of taking the tests now and getting our preliminary scores back, and we're excited because we've seen some increases. But last year we had good scores. I'm never satisfied. And I think satisfaction can be the enemy of progress. So I probably won't be satisfied until we see hundreds on that chart. And we'll see if I'm satisfied because we'll have a new group of learners coming. But some highlights. We had a strong group of third grade learners last year that surpassed district averages with a 54% passing rate on their ELA and 60% on their math tests. That's all in your packet. Our highest scores were in ELA in fifth grade where we had 70% passing rate, which I'm very proud of. It's a fantastic score. Not satisfied, but super proud. Our fifth graders worked really hard, and that shows a reflection of the hard work they've done and our teachers and their learning. Like I said, our preliminary numbers or preliminary passing rates this year are strong, and I'm excited to bring those back next year as we get them all in, and hopefully we see increases in every area. That's our goal, is to continually increase and do better. We've made some strategic changes this year to work to grow in areas where we saw need. We want our math scores to increase. Our ELA scores surpassed our math scores in every grade but third last year. We have given additional attention to ELA within our schedule. And so this year we gave the same attention to math by adding a 30-minute math intervention block to our daily schedule. Tightens us up schedule-wise. Students already have an hour of math. This 30 minutes is intervention where every student is met at their level with either an extension if they're at or above grade level, or some intervention if they're below grade level to help them fill the gaps and catch up. We're excited to see how that work continues to progress. It's been a good challenge for our teachers because it's adding another element to their plate. We have a couple of intervention materials the district has provided, which are fantastic, but it's not enough. Teachers are creating and doing the hard work of finding those groups and finding the right tools to meet the learners' needs. And we're excited to see how that it shows in our math data for this year. In ELA, we are in our first full year with a reading interventionist in a very long time, and our reading program has done a really nice work of implementing the RTI model. You guys have heard about that from other principals, response to intervention, where we take deep looks at our data regularly, and we see who needs more help, who needs extension to grow to the next level, and work to give students what they need during a reading intervention block. We also identified attendance as an area of growth. Really proud this year we have a 93% attendance rate. Again, not satisfied, but proud that our students are showing up. We're doing some fun things to engage attendance. We have trimester attendance awards. We've had at least 12 students in the first and second trimester independent of each other that had perfect attendance. And we have 4 that are on track for perfect attendance this year, which is really great. It's something students care about. They care about being at school regularly. It's something we encourage them to do. And there's families that are struggling in all of our communities. And so supporting those families and offering support to help them. We've helped students with anxiety get to school and overcome those obstacles. We've helped families with transportation issues get to school and overcome those obstacles. So we're fighting that attendance battle on both fronts, but we know the research shows that if students are at school more regularly, they're going to achieve highly, which is our goal for students. So a lot of work to be done, but we're excited to do it. I'm thankful to be at Dundee and engaged in this community. Right now, it's my dream job. So thanks for letting me serve in that role.
Thank you. Any comments or questions?
Oh, congratulations on your youth truth statistics.
Thanks.
That's very much to be celebrated. I've spent a lot of time in Dundee Elementary School because my kids went through there, and was that last week? We had the 5th grade music program.
Yeah.
And I participated, but it made me a little sad because it was the last one for the 5th grade class to be there. So something coming up is Night of the Notables, which I think have gotten an invitation from Mrs. Bachmeyer's class. Mrs. Bachmeyer, I'd really recommend if you have a chance to go to it. It's a fabulous display of a cumulative work, of what those kids do. But I just want to say something about Mr. Wright. I was driving past the school one day, and there seemed to be a little situation happening with a little kiddo who did not appear to want to go back into school. And out comes Mr. Wright with the banana. And he's just calmly walking. There are plenty of adults sort of keeping an eye on this kid, calmly walking towards this kiddo with the banana. And I was like captivated, wanted to see what happened. And, but I had to turn at the light. So it's just like that sense of calm that you bring, I think, it was kind of a cool opportunity to sort of see you in action. And I really appreciate what you bring to that school.
Thank you. It's a pleasure
I
to
asked
be
him
there.
if the banana worked, and he said it did.
We got in.
If there's no further comments. Thank you very much. Thank you for your work.
Thanks for having me.
And yes. And next we have Ewing Young Elementary, Scott Henderson.
Thank you. It's gonna be tough to follow Tim. It always is tough to follow Tim, so give him the kudos when he deserves. Kind of as Tim was saying, I appreciate all your work here as well. I know how hard it is to serve. My uncle was on the board in Eugene, and he would tell me stories on how difficult it is at times. So I appreciate your what you guys do. You can change it. Kind of like what Tim was saying, I'll just give you a mission that we have at Ewing Young real quick. I mean, we're kind of a community inside a community. We're out in the country, so we treat it like it's our own little city out there. But we're understanding that learning is a social endeavor, and that people who make up Ewing Young, students, staff, families, and community members, we're really focused on bringing families and having community members come. And like Tim says, our volunteer pool is amazing. I have people calling me, hey, why aren't you calling me on a daily basis? I was like, I can't use you daily. Like, people are like, just want to be in the school daily and have on tasks. It's impressive. We embrace our institution as a gathering place for academic and social growth. Our priorities at Ewing Young, we work to create and nurture problem solvers and critical thinkers. We work to empower Ewing Young students with an eagerness to preserve through challenging tasks. We work to establish a sense of responsibility for one's own learning. We work to integrate our curriculum and instruction to the real world. We do that in our STEAM projects daily. it's impressive what these teachers are doing. We're a STEAM school and we do some really real life, cool robotic stuff. We do rocketry. It's really impressive to see what our teachers are doing. We embrace learning experiences grounded in authentic opportunities for critical thinking, collaboration, creativity, and communication. And realizing our you and young community is the key to our success, we strive to involve all stakeholders, which is part of the reason why we have such good turnout for volunteers. It's impressive. I mean, I had good turnout of volunteers at my old school, but it's nothing like this. It's a really impressive place. I'm lucky to be there. Journey of learning and growth. Every district's different. YC, I had a template, so I was going off of what being new to this district, kind of going off of what Tabitha sent. So 2023-24, we just started state testing for grades 3 through 5, just like Tim said. We're kind of in the same spot. We are proud of our growth. Preliminary results are coming in and doing pretty well. We think that our testing results might get up in the 50s as our preliminary. We don't know yet, but we're thinking which is a good growth from 41 if that's the case, and that's continuing to happen. 22-23 school year last year, our third grade students demonstrated 67.67% in math, which is way above the state average of 40. And in language arts, 61.3 of our third grade students were proficient in comparison to the 40 across the state. So last year we also did very well, but our goal, like Tim says, is we're always trying to push and get a little bit better. We're doing a lot of small groups. I'm testing kids daily as well, and myself. I have a group every day. I have specialists that take groups every day. We do what's right for kids and get them in the small testing environments that they need. And our goal is just to give the kids what they need for that testing environment and continue to see that growth. Our teachers get really excited with seeing that growth. They really, it's like a game for them. It's like a sporting event. We want to be on top. Being a basketball coach myself for 18 years at varsity level, I understand what they're coming from. So I'm with them. Biggest highlights in just like Tim said with his staff. I had a great staff at YC, and the staff here is absolutely amazing. It's by far one of the best staffs I've ever seen. My kids go to Ewing Young. It's my dream job, just like Tim said. The only job I even looked at in the summer was this one. Getting to work with a staff like we have here, getting to work with my own kids and trusting my own kids into their hands is something special. And I'm my own, but there's some pictures of them, but yeah, they all go above and beyond, and it shows. These kids, it's a family environment we have. The staff tells me that every day. It's like coming to a second family. So it is a great place to have. I was a fool and did Buddy the Elf, and you can see me up there. We did a little fun winter concert where we did some surprises to the kids and danced, and they loved it. I have my counselor up there riding with the kids at a first grade field trip. We did pie in the face, and then all of a sudden at the end they surprised me, Henderson, you're going to get pied, and there I am. I still have, to this day, I got a third grader every single day. The one who won that pied me. You still taste pie? I do. I still taste it. You got me good. Every single day. That was the biggest smile I've ever seen on her face, and every day it's still there. So she loved it, and she still is. I'm not getting today. It was the same thing. You still taste it? Still taste it. So it's awesome. Some highlights, and that's a long slide, but I'll kind of do some just paraphrase it a little bit. But highlights we have is math interventions. Our scores have been high, especially ELA scores. We've have RTI that's been working very well in my building. But we added a math interventionist this year, and it's impressive what we're doing right now at Ewing Young with math. Every single kid is getting to be pulled into a small group. Either I've done some, because I was a former math teacher, we have math interventionists doing some. I have other EAs doing some. It's impressive to see what we're doing out there. We have every single spot. If you come into my school, you'll see kids in the hall learning. We don't have a classroom to be had. My office is small group. I give it up every day for people to teach kids in my office because they need a space to learn, and they need it more than I do, because these kids they want to learn, and they need that space. So I give it up because that's what we do. We do what's best for kids. So for example, some of the proof in our results this year, at the start of the school year, 35% of our district assessment came into school at grade level or above. And just in our couple months into the winter, we raised that up to 56%. So that's some pretty good growth just in a short amount of time. I'm really excited to see what our growth is at the end of the year benchmark assessment that we're doing. I can just attest to the growth that, I mean, my own kid started in struggling, and the growth he's had as well. It's just amazing with some of the stuff that we're doing. So it's impressive as a parent level, and it's impressive as a principal level, what our staff is doing. We've also piloted the Roots Math Intervention through University of Oregon. I've seen some good results there. The kindergarten kids are loving it. Have incorporated building math fluency, math intervention kits into every grade level. I've brought out our TOSA, Dawn Reed, to teach math, and she's coming out to train our staff. I have her doing lessons with the staff so they see some professional in action, so they can get. My theory of learning is you got to see it, and so I kind of bring that out to my staff. If I can get somebody that's better than me or whatever to show, the staff enjoys that, because then they can see the action, see it actually work with the kids. So she's been teaching lessons out in our school to help our staff. While we're quite not at our interventions are quite not at the reading level, just because RTI has been in the district for a long time. We're making huge strides these years and this year, and I plan on continuing that, especially with the new math adoption. There's just some pictures of kids. We use the gym or do our there's a small group table there, kindergartners, just a couple of pictures of kids doing their math. Building a bright future. One of the other highlights we have, being a STEAM school, it is impressive what we do. I mean, I come from Ewing Young High, our YC High School, where we did some amazing stuff with rocketry and things like that. And the stuff what we're doing with the kids at K through 5 is on board with the high school. It's impressive, and using connections that I have at different high schools like YC's, wanting to come out and do rocketry stuff because we had a good rocketry team. So with the connections I've had, we're bringing it into our school here. Kids are working with 3D printers. We had kids out in the commons doing their robots. We had people building water canals the other week, strength of bridges where they're doing strength tests and using their engineering skills. It is impressive to see what these kids are doing with, and all the time that our teachers spend, because the curriculum's not there, so they're making it up. So all the time that they spend to collaborate and work and do what's best for our students, it's impressive. There's just some pictures of different projects. We were at the Hague Lake. They're building different canals in first grade. Hague Lake again. It's just some of the pictures that they're doing. It's impressive to see. Kids are always having fun. I was state testing a 5th grader today, and he's like, "Can I go now?" I was like, "It's time." I was like, "What's up?" "It's time for STEAM," and I can't miss STEAM. I'm like, "You're not missing STEAM." So it's some of our kids' exciting best part of the day is STEAM. So the projects we're doing are amazing. Some of the weaknesses that, I mean, like Tim said, I'm always striving to get better. Attendance matters. My goal at Ewing Young and our staff's goal is to get 95%, which is way higher than what the state average is. But I mean, might as well thrive to improve and get better. Right now we're at 93.6, but we want to get to the 95. And with myself and counselors and secretaries and teachers, we're working hard to make those positive connections to get the kids there. Obviously it's working at 93.6, but we got to get a little bit better in my opinion, because the elementary years are the foundational years to get them in the building and get them where they need to be. So still wanting to get that a little bit higher. One of the things I'm also really, really proud of, I have an amazing counselor. We do SEL lessons with our teachers and stuff, but also every Wednesday I have my counselor going into classrooms doing special SEL lessons that he's made up on his own on what our kids need to get them socially and emotionally ready for not only their future, but to get them ready for middle school, because that's our job right now. Middle school's job is to get them ready for high school. My job is to get them ready for middle school. So that's what we're working on. One of the things that Mr. Hampton and we talk on a daily basis is him and I are working on a survey to give to our students to even improve our SEL. So to kind of get the feedback from what my students need. So what are they telling me that they need to be even more ready? So that's what we're building, that survey. We're going to get that done before school's out. And then we'll build our lessons next year off of what our kids feel that they actually need to get the buy-in as well. Another thing that I'm implementing this year, we started kind of building a student leadership program in-house with a group of fifth graders where I've had them just basic stuff this year. They volunteer, design a spirit week, do some community, things like that. We're just starting small right now, but with Mr. Hampton's help and myself, we plan on implementing this with grades 3 through 5 next year, where Mr. Hampton will also be doing some leadership lessons with our kids, where I will as well. We plan on doing some community service next year, opportunities with myself and him, and just continuing to grow that program to get leaders ready for the middle school and for our society in general. So we started that slowly with fifth grade. Next year, we're gonna really dig into 3 through 5 and just, we saw it's a success this year. So now we really want to dig in and make it better. So that's a weakness we had, but we're going to make it a strength in about 4 years. Thank you, school board, for all you do. Like I said, it's a thankless job, and I appreciate it. And so do my staff and students. So thank you.
Thank you. Comments, questions?
Of course I have to comment because I'm the liaison to your school. So every time I've been in the school, just the sort of the sense of pride and excitement. You are a very popular person in the building. So I'm not surprised that you would do the Buddy the Elf and take a pie. So I appreciate everything that you're doing for that community.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentations. We appreciate your time. I know you're busy.
I just got 3 under 3 or under 5. That is busy.
Yeah, you're very busy.
Hey, Nancy, I got a couple questions. So I just want to thank you for coming in and doing this. Your presentations were great, extensive. Thanks for what you guys do for the schools. I don't think we've met, but I see Tim from time to time. I always like to see a smiling face. You guys have goals set here, right, on attendance and stuff. And I'm just curious, when you have a gap like that, how do you analyze it and target how you're gonna fix like attendance or improve attendance, right? I'm just curious, what are you using for data, feedback, stuff like that?
Me personally, to improve mine, I'm a very relationship-based person. So building relationships with parents, or calling them and doing stuff on the phone, sending letters. But with the teachers, I expect my teachers to do the same, to build those relationships. If you build some relationships, you'll get the kids at school. You make things enjoyable, you'll get them there. And if the kids feel wanted, they're gonna come. I know there's things like vacations that, hey, we need them. That's gonna happen. Like I expect that to happen, especially at the elementary level. People go on vacations, but getting the kids to school when they're there and they're not on those family vacations that are needed. I mean, it's just by building those relationships that we really strive on and making it like I said, a family environment. I think that's kind of how we've improved it to 93% this year, and just continuing to do that work at my school is what's going to bump it over the top to the 95.
Yeah, thanks. And Tim, you can chime in too. I guess the other thing I had was, I think sometimes we look up here and it's wonderful that we're improving, but sometimes you see the low ELA or math score. I don't understand you, but across the state, and you think, oh my gosh, only 50% or 40% are meeting the standards. And I'm just curious what you think about that and how you and the district are tackling that,
Yeah, that's a great question. I can speak to that. And we have a more procedural system as a district in language arts through our RTI program. And we take a strategic look at each student, but also groups of students, and see where our struggling groups are, and then identify supports for them. We are, I believe, 3 years, maybe 4 years into our RTI process. Jillian can tell you for sure. And we're taking the next step into what's called the tier 3 supports, which are those students. Tier 1 is what I'll.
Can you move the mic a little closer to yourself?
So the RTI pyramid that educators are super familiar with, but maybe you guys have never seen it, it's a pyramid, and there's levels of support. The first level is tier 1. All students receive kind of your core curriculum supports. It's what all students get. And the research shows that about 70% of your students will thrive with just good core curriculum, right? And that differs with different groups of learners, but it's kind of the general rule. There's another group above that, the 20 to 25% of learners that are going to need additional support. Maybe that's a small reading group. Maybe it's an additional reading instruction provided by the classroom teacher or math, right, to help close small gaps. And then there's that top group that needs intensive supports. So we've implemented tier 1 and tier 2 fairly strongly. We've taken a look at our core. We review it regularly. We see how our large groups of students do. We have core review meetings as a team. And then we have 20% review meetings where we look at that 20% of struggling students that are getting intervention service. The other students, our tier 3 students, have been traditionally served within our SPED model. The full RTI model has some different areas of support or some levels of support before students get to SPED to help them with kind of the deeper and intensive intervention services. And that's our next step as a district. What we've seen at Dundee is we have a lot more transiency than we used to have. We used to have students that lived in our community and participate in our school K-5. We have a lot of students that don't participate in our school K-5, and a lot of students in that 20% struggling group are the ones that have moved to us. A lot of our students in our 3%, which will be our tier 3 group, have moved to us within the last year to 2. And not saying the schools they didn't come from were great, but for whatever reason, their education hadn't connected. And we're not sure if they have the same levels of support. So we have to identify in those gaps that are gaps they came with and fill them as quickly as possible is I think the strategic work to getting them all up to grade level. We see growth from those groups, but if a student's 3 years behind and they're in 3rd grade and they're operating at kindergarten level, they're not going to be passing their state tests. But we do. We have a few students who may make amazing jumps in growth. But as a general rule, getting a year and a half of growth is great success out of a student who's multiple years behind. In math, that's happening in our building. We don't have a math intervention that's happening in the classroom level. So that's that target of the math intervention block is to figure out how we fill those, identify the gaps first by looking at our data. We have great data sets provided by our curricular tests, but also our formative tests that we take a handful of times a year, and identify the gaps and then working to fill those strategically. So it's hard work. If there was a model where you could just close those gaps, everybody would be using it. The model's in the time and the hard work, and I see our staff doing that. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And all the volunteers that come.
Yeah, absolutely.
Spend time too. Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you, both of you, very much. A youth truth survey, Jillian Delzarta will come and explain that. Thank you.
Good evening. You've kind of got a little bit of a preview of some of the information that I'm going to share with you tonight. So we'll get it kicked off. As a reminder, the Youth Truth Survey is a climate and culture survey that we switched to in the 23-24 school. I'm sorry, in the 22-23 school year. The survey was brought to us by the Willamette Education Service District. And one of the biggest differences between this survey and our prior surveys is that it's nationally normed. So we can see how our schools and our district compare not only to the state of Oregon, but also nationally, as well as our region within the WESD. And so that's provided us a lot of really great information. So this year we heard from 3,312 students, families, and staff within our community. 1,930 of those were our students. The Youth Truth Survey is given to students at the 5th grade level, all students at the middle school level, and all students at the high school level. We also had 995 families participate and 387 staff members. So the big kind of categories or buckets, if you will, within the survey, and I'm sorry, my slides tonight have a lot of content, and unfortunately, I'm probably going to be reading some of it, and I hate that, so I will try to give you the short snap. We're really focusing on engagement, relationships, culture, belonging. There's academic challenge and instructional methods in there. At the high school level, career and college readiness, communication, school safety, resources, and professional development are the main categories of the survey itself. Oops. So for our family, sorry. Yeah. For our family result, I think it is, unless you're doing it, and I don't know, I'm not doing it. For our family results, all themes improved from 2023 to 2024. 3 themes at the elementary level for the school family survey: relationships, culture, and safety. And 1 theme at the middle school family survey: communication and feedback, are now at or above the national median. So that's great news. And there was also a huge improvement in how Families responded to the question, my child is getting a high quality education at the school. So again, each school had their own survey that families participated in. And so the data is gathered at the school level. So you can see the elementary schools, 77% in 2024. That's a 7% improvement. At the middle school, 43% in 2024, and they were 34% in 2023. And then at high school, 48% in 2024 as compared to 37% in 2023. Okay, it's not working. Nope, it did work. Do you want to go back? 2 slides. Right there. Thank you. So for our student results, we showed huge growth at the high school level. All 6 core themes at the high school survey saw a statistically significant improvement from 23 to 2024. And I should add the consultant at Youth Truth that helps us do the data analysis actually commented on the impressive growth that they've seen from our survey results, and that it is quite uncharacteristic from what they are typically dealing with. So they were really impressed with our improvement there. 40 out of the 56 questions at the high school survey also showed improvement from 23 to 24, including all of the questions from the engagement theme and 4 of the questions from college and career readiness. I think this really goes back to show the investments that we've made in student engagement with some of our professional development and, of course, our CTE grants and our work with all of our community partners. The school safety continues to be very highly rated also across the entire district, and elementary students also showed improvement in the theme of culture. So these are kind of the high level noticeable action items that we saw from the survey results. For the staff survey, elementary and middle school staff perceptions improved across all of the themes. The high school data level stayed consistent from last year, which continued to be very high. The levels of the staff perceptions around the question, I would recommend the school to a friend or colleague as a great place to work. At the elementary school, 82% of staff said this as compared to 72% in 2023. At the middle school, 72% as compared to 49% in 2023, and at the high school, 68% as compared to 59% in 2023. And then again, school safety, all staff have reported feelings of improvement as compared to the 2023 data. So we're going to dive in a little bit more in the areas of communication and feedback. Again, this survey will break down the data is going to be based by level, so elementary, middle, and then high. So just really pulling out those scores. So family communication and feedback in 2023 was at 65%, and in 2024, 73%. At the middle school, family communication is at 60%, and in 2023, it was at 37%. And then for our high school, family communication in 2024 is at 42% as compared to 37%. So we saw gains in all areas. And then when we dig in a little bit to professional development at the elementary level, 58% of staff reported improvement in professional development. At the middle school level, 49% stated that there was improvement. That's an 8% increase from last year. And then at the high school level, 36% reported improvement in their professional development experience. So these last couple of slides are a little bit smaller, but this is the overview of the total results by level. So this would be the elementary students is the data that you're seeing in the first column. The areas where it says NA, those categories are not asked at the elementary level. That's why there's an NA response there. So you can see the percent change following the scores. And then the family responses, again, NA stands for not asked at that particular survey for families. And then the percent change along with our staff results. And so just noting that 13% culture change at staff was pretty huge along with those safety, and it is comparable. A little dip in engagement and academic challenge, but for the most part, seeing really great growth. And at the middle school level, again, same layout here. You've got your student results first, the change in results from last year to this year. the family responses and the staff responses and the change in those results. And again, where you see NAs, those questions are not included on those particular surveys. So really great growth in engagement with our middle school families, and then really great growth with engagement, relationships, and culture at the middle school level with staff, along with school safety. Communications and feedback at the middle school level is also a very large area of growth. So students and staff and our administrators across our schools are really doing a lot of work, as you've heard a little bit tonight already. And then our high school results, again, here the NAs stand for those questions were not included in the survey. And our student growth, family growth, and staff growth are all there, showing significant improvement for students and engagement and relationships at the school, along with academic challenge and the career and college readiness category. And then for our families, that 9% in culture change and the 7% in communication and feedback and school safety. And then our staff reporting 11% increase for culture as well at the high school level. So those are kind of the overview of how each category scored at elementary, middle, and high. And that is the very short summary of our results from 2024 as compared to 2023. Any questions?
Are there any questions for Julian?
Yes, I have a couple questions. You mentioned that we're now able to see it across national standards, or maybe not standards, but like where everybody else is in the nation, right? So one thing that's concerning with this slide, and I have another question, but like culture for 21% of students, that seems pretty low, even though there is an increase from last year, which is great. Do we know what like the cultural, standard is, what those questions may be like, and why we're so low?
I do have the questions that were asked, and the data that we receive as part of the results isn't how everyone else is doing. It's us compared nationally, us compared to the state, and then us compared to the region. So we can't like see individual place breakouts. I do have that information in all of the data slides, but I did not drill down into that information for this, but we do have that.
No worries. We always like to hear the great successes, and the first few slides were all strengths. Was there any call outs on weaknesses that we should be looking or concerned about?
So one thing that stood out for me at the elementary level was the academic challenge. So that decreased. So that's always a little bit concerning. We've been spending a lot of time focusing on our instruction, specifically in reading and math. But you also heard tonight from our two elementary principals about all of the other areas of focus that are happening, especially around STEAM, which is a high engagement factor. With this last year and then this upcoming year, first curriculum adoption in the district besides literacy in quite a long time. So I think part of the academic challenge is showing up in the resources that our staff have to utilize. As Mr. Wright and Mr. Henderson mentioned, their staffs are making up a lot of their curriculum in STEAM because we don't have it. So I would say when we have staffs that have the time and put that extra in, that's part of some of their results. So being able to even out the field and having that curriculum will be important. And then I would say in terms of the other areas, if we want to go back a slide or two, or not, maybe you could go back 2 slides for me to that'd be great. Again, 5th graders are taking this survey. So we're only getting a snapshot of 5th graders. So whether or not that 1% decrease in engagement really means a lot at the 5th grade level, something to dig into. Can you go forward 1 slide for me? And then at the middle school level, again, engagement and the sense of belonging. And I know those are 2 areas both middle schools are really working on. And we've still got some work to do there in those areas. But as you can see in the family and staff categories, there are not negative responses there. Or not negative responses, but not negative results in terms of going backwards. There is the school safety and resources. So again, the more we're able to support our staff and students in their learning at school. Presentation Casey gave tonight about the bond is a perfect example of some of those improvements that we're seeing in terms of resource across all of our schools. And then forward 1 more slide, please. Thank you. At the high school level, areas there that are looking at for improvement, continuing to show belonging and support in schools, the school safety and communications for our family, as well as culture and school safety for staff. It continues to increase, but of course, we've got more work to do.
Thank you.
Any more questions, comments? If not, thank you very much, Jillian. Thank you. April expenditure revenue reports. Heather Bixby, please.
So you have the revenue and expenditure reports in your packet. Since the last budget committee meeting, several new concerns have emerged regarding the status of both the current year's budget and the proposed budget for the upcoming year. At this time, the district is facing a number of financial challenges. Combination of declining enrollment and escalating costs have led to a projected shortfall in revenues for the current fiscal year. In addition, the district received a negative adjustment in the May State School Fund for the 22-23 school year. The district received more local revenue than anticipated last year, which resulted in an overpayment of state school fund dollars. This May, those funds had to be repaid to the state. In order to provide the board with a full financial report, I am recommending the following. One, that I ask the Oregon Association of School Business Officials, otherwise known as OASBO, to provide an independent evaluation of our final financial status. And two, once it's complete, to convene a special board meeting to review findings and any recommendations. Understand that it's difficult to receive this information at this time. I know that time is of the essence. I want to make sure that I provide you with the best information possible.
Comments, questions?
So we had a board meeting, what, last week? Or a budget meeting, my apologies, budget meeting. So is this new information that's come to us since the budget meeting last week?
Yes, these are new findings.
And what, is there a dollar figure of how much we have to repay or estimation?
Until I have accurate numbers, I would rather not comment on where I think it might be, because I would rather be able to give you accurate numbers.
Can you at least give us 100,000? Is it in the 100,000 range or millions?
I am not comfortable giving that until I have somebody else review where we're at.
Any further questions or any questions about just the May report, April report? No. Okay,
I
thank
just
you.
want to say thank you to Heather. Appreciate it.
Student representatives, that's me. Thank you for our student representatives that have served this year, and all three of you here tonight, and your seniors. And so we know you're at the last month of your education in the Newburgh Dundee School District. And so last year we kind of got started late on getting student representatives appointed. And so I talked to Dr. Phillips about this, and it seemed like it'd be a good idea to start the process earlier so students could start in July when we start our new board year. And so my recommendation is the policy is policy BCBA, if anybody wants to look it up. And it's about student representatives of the board, and that we have a formalized communication. So we would notify the catalysts in the high school that we'll take students applications to serve on the board. We'd have 3 student representatives again next year. And if possible, if the board agrees with this, if applications were due by June 5th before school was out, then we could interview at the June 11th board meeting, and the student representatives could be appointed and start serving in July. And so it would mean more of a time commitment for the student representatives. So I'm just going to ask student representatives if you have any thoughts on this yourselves.
I think that would be really beneficial to give, that time to build that connection, I guess, with the rest of the board, starting at the same time as the new board.
Okay, thank you. So if the board, this was a discussion, so it's not an action, if the board agrees with this, because we appoint every year, then we would notify the high school and catalysts that applications are due on June 5th, and we would be interviewing the applicants at the June 11th board meeting. Okay, we will do that. Thank you. Fees for families attending outside the Newburgh Dundee School District.
Last year, we worked through this a little bit and ended up waiving the fees and not charging any amount. For next year, what we are presenting to the board tonight is the breakdown for the 24-25 school year at the middle school level and the high school level. Approximately one, about halfway down the sheet there in the highlight, high school class per trimester is approximately $751.79. At the middle school level, it's slightly less because there's 6 classes rather than 5, but it's $626.58. And so for the 24-25 school year, high school student, $750 per course per trimester, and middle school $725 or $625. Now, this is for families. This is not for homeschool families that want to come take a class. They're still free. This is for families that choose to go to another district where therefore the state money follows them to that other district. We don't get anything for them. So if they want to come back and take a class, then we're charging them. That's what this is. At the very bottom, we quote policy JECB, which in that policy, it states that this is a superintendent discretion. So once again, we covered this a little bit last year and ended up kind of hunting because we were a little late on it, and allowing all families to take the credits for free this year. Next year, that won't be the case. Any questions? Okay.
Calendars. Yes, go ahead.
I know we wrote it down.
Mhm.
Okay. So the calendars, you've seen these. So board calendars, there are 3 options. Option A, B, and C. We need to approve one of them this evening. Option A is 1 board meeting a month, the second Tuesday of the month. Option B is 1 board meeting a month, the second Tuesday of the month, with an additional 4 board meetings throughout the year. And then option C is 1 board meeting a month on the second Tuesday of the month with an additional 3 board meetings throughout the year. And of course, the board, as always, has the right to call an emergency board meeting or a work session when needed, whatever it might be. These calendars just show the scheduled ones.
I have a question about B. I see 3 are true dates that are not impacting to holidays, but I think the 4th one's actually on spring break, and so this really truly not a 4th extra meeting. B, yeah.
B in March.
March.
So what I would suggest is if calendar B is what you want, but you don't like a board meeting over spring break, then bump that to March 18th or maybe April 1st.
And are these the extra meetings, have we aligned those with some of the months where we anticipate a little extra things needing to be done?
We tried to spread them out more so they weren't all front or all the back. As you notice, both B and C are kind of spread out. I think as you probably experienced, there's always something. So.
And I think for some of those months, we were talking about doing sort of a deep look at what we're doing around reading and math and, some of those topics that, we kind of speed through.
I know one idea I brought up with the chair is that some other districts, they do some of these work sessions, they do joint with like the city government. So that could be an idea if we did do this, like one of these, maybe having it prearranged where we do a work session or something with like the city council.
Yeah, I've never done that, so that would be good.
Is there, anybody want to make a motion for one of these? I agree with, Jeremy, that if you do option B, you would need to move the, out of the spring break.
Hold on, are we still in discussions or are we going moving into?
Well, we need to make a decision about this. We need to have a motion to decide which, calendar, but we're still discussing right now.
Okay, so I was gonna say, because I added an item for discussion, I think we should address first before we go into board actions.
Okay,
So I don't care. I mean, we can still review them. I was just saying you're calling for a motion. I don't think this is the appropriate moment for a motion.
okay,
We've got.
okay.
This is just
Right.
reviewing them.
Okay, the board action is on the back. We were reviewing it, but,
And I'll just for the discussion, I like option B just because as Dr. Phillips said, it's fair and there's always seems to be something, and I think this might help it not be marathon sessions, you know, things that we know. I think as long as we had maybe some flexibility that if we knew, say, yeah, maybe we have another one scheduled for March, but we have a crisis in February, maybe we move it to handle whatever that issue is rather than having 6-hour meetings. I don't know.
Yeah, on option B, my other concern though is having the last meeting of the fiscal year after school's out. It just seems like that's another good opportunity for families to be doing things and causing potential issues. On June 24th, so school ends on the 12th. Just a thought. Possible impacts.
Jeremy, if, I think we could go ahead and make a motion on this and then go back and do the discussion.
That's
since
fine.
we're already
I'm
in
okay
this.
with that.
We
Just
won't,
wanna make
we,
sure we're following
yeah, we won't,
proper process.
we won't forget you. So does anybody have a calendar they want to suggest or an alternative to one of the calendars that's suggested?
I agree with the other two directors that talked about option 4, but I'm sorry, not option 4, option B that has the 4 extra. But I do concur there is concerns about where those extra 4 are laid out. I don't know what the modifications would be at this moment to say we move X to a date or what, but
You
I
know,
like the 4 extra days.
one thought is, look at option C and then find another Tuesday. That you could live with, and then you've got B, it's just a little cleaner with less
Yeah,
editing. So is there an extra Tuesday on option C you could?
Maybe in the July, so rather than having the last one having two, maybe the first works, I don't know, just the first one of the fiscal year, we could, you know, handle some new business. So maybe you know, an idea would be option C with a second, like a work session for anything.
Like the 30th of July, maybe, or something?
Yeah, something like that, just because it is the beginning of our fiscal year and, you know, anything that may come up going into the school year so that it's handled.
That might be, Saul was kind of like in the summer's freer though.
Yeah, I mean, my thought would be go with the option C with the 3, knowing we can add one in when it makes sense, not necessarily deciding right now that we have to do this on a certain day, but I think calendar C looks the cleanest. I do worry, and I'm curious, budget session's always in May. Yeah. I worry about having 2 meetings in May when we're gonna probably have a bunch of budget. There's not gonna be a perfect calendar, obviously, but yeah, my thought would be C, so we can add a 4th one if and when we decide that's necessary.
When are like goals and, you know, the superintendent goals or our board goals due?
Usually August.
usually in August. So, yeah. Is there a motion? Do you want to, Saul, do you want to make a motion for option C or not?
I move to that the Newburgh Dundee Public Schools adopt the option C board calendar for school year 2024-2025.
Is there a second
Second.
discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Abstain? Okay. So, so it'll be option C. Next, so before we do the academic calendar, Jeremy, Personnel Committee.
Yeah, I just want to understand better, so I'm just gonna ask a question. Again, there may be a follow-up recommendation I provide, but I want to understand better what is the specific roles and what are your I mean, I know it was written out last month. Exactly, like, okay, it's basically managing the evaluation and also if we ever do hire a new superintendent, that committee would be in charge of that. Is that it, or is there other things that that committee would be doing around personnel?
I see that as it because that's our responsibility as board members is to do the evaluation of the superintendent, and that's the one employee. We do not evaluate lower down. It's not our responsibility to do any evaluations for any other board members or any other employees of the district.
Okay, then it does not have to be, I would like to bring up something that I think we should consider, and take time, think about it, maybe add it to the agenda item next month, to kind of confirm maybe direction. I have sent this request to, the board chair, and basically I feel that we need to have a committee or either that or have like liaisons of the board, start working with the unions and the admins to understand where the kind of the health is of our staff and the people within our buildings. Kids are very important, but staff is the commodity that we cannot lose. And I feel that there is still gaps of understanding where they're at. I know we invite them to sit at the table every month, but they're not here. So a couple options would be to sit down with them, talk to them, maybe also got this idea from a friend that's from a couple different school districts, but essentially also maybe a board person, doesn't have to be the whole committee, but if there's some they can delegate around, but to also sit in the not sure exactly what it's called, but the labor meetings every month, just to be a representative, listen, observe, see how things are going. And that's just a couple ideas of maybe why again, the goal is to get a better understanding of where the health of our staff is. As far as I last understood, they do not have exit interviews within the unions or our teachers. And I believe that is something valuable for us to understand. If teachers or staff of any kind leave, that's something that also could be worked upon and helping collaborate with them on maybe those exit interviews as well. So, or surveys at least, and that doesn't have to be interviews, maybe there's just surveys, but gathering information to understand what's happening. So just food for thought. Again, we can talk about it now more or discuss again maybe more next month. So
Any discussion right now from board members?
I like the idea. I don't know the technicalities that might cause any issues. One thought just that made me think of that is, I had heard the idea before that we maybe hold a board meeting at a different location, a different school. And maybe that could be something we talk about with some of our extra meetings next year, that maybe that extra meeting can be held at different locations to try to encourage people in different parts of the community to be able to come out and interact in ways that they might not be able to come here to do. Possibly having teachers that can stick around at their schools to engage with us, but I do like any kind of way that we could engage more with those teachers and staff to find out as much as we can that we don't get to see.
You mentioned maybe some other districts are doing that. Do you think you could get some more information on that, on how they're doing about it or going about doing that, and then bring that? Because I'd be very curious if other districts are doing it, why reinvent the wheel? So if they're doing that successfully, I think that'd be some good models we could look at.
The one that I know of, and very specifically where I mentioned the other districts are doing, is there is a board member now. I don't know if it's delegated or not, or if there's a committee, and I can follow up on that. There is one board member that sits in with the union leadership meetings every month, and just to observe and see what's happening. So again, understanding if it's a committee or if it's just a liaison that's been assigned or whatever, I can definitely learn more about that. So.
Yeah, I'd be interested in understanding what that liaison role sort of is, other than sitting and observing. So I'd be interested in some more information about that.
So Jeremy, if you can bring us some more information, and we can actually put it on the agenda, so it's noted.
Sounds good. Will do.
Okay, thank you. So now board action also is the academic calendar, which needs to be decided tonight. And Dr. Phillips, you want to?
Yep, we have two options on this. A and B. They are identical, except parent-teacher conferences in the spring on option A are in orange there in February. And in option B, we move them to April. So we run on trimesters now. And so with two parent-teacher conferences, which is part of the collective bargaining agreement with the teachers union, we get two conferences during the year. So one trimester will be left out. So one of them covers trimester 1 and 2, and the other one covers trimester 1 and 3.
Can I ask a question about the CBA? Is that something that's even being a topic for this negotiation period, that they may extend to 3, or is that pretty much already agreed upon? It's already 2, or sticking with 2?
We are talking about conferences, but we're not talking about increasing it from 2 to 3.
Okay, it's good to know. Thank you.
Dr. Phillips, could you talk about if you know of any strengths or weaknesses in these two? Because I mean, one thought I have is when option A, yeah, I know it's in trimester 2, but that might give, if we're checking in with parents, letting them know how their kids are doing, and maybe, if they're not doing well, then that might give them some more time to have the parents do some interventions and have them to turn things around before the end of the year. Whereas a worry, by the time we get to April, we only have, 6 to 8 weeks left of school. So that's just one off the top of my head. I don't know if you have any ideas one way or the other.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Another bonus with the February one, if you notice, it's backed up with the 17th, which would give teachers a 4-day week. Also students a 4-day weekend would give students and teachers a 4-day weekend, which is nice. The April idea, a lot of times for educators, April can be a drag. It's really at the end of the year and everybody's exhausted and it's a long month. It does give a little bit of reprieve in the month of April. This is rare, but I really don't care. I'm happy with that.
So, having 4 kids go recently through high school, and I know high school is not the only factor here, it should be all schools, but when you're looking at colleges or potential colleges, grades at high school are the ones that really truly matter. I know it should be 2 check-ins are kind of like the holistic perspective, but a lot of them I've had to deal with over the last, few years is it's really about that trimester or that semester specifically. I guess as a parent, I don't like February because at that point you have 4 weeks to try to recover grades. If you're really trying to look at the end of a trimester and meet grades goals. April gives you almost 2 months to, if you're not on track to kind of get back online and have a better outcome. on that. So, those are just my thoughts.
Yeah, and I wonder if we ask our high school kids. Would you care, if your fall, basically, fall conference is set on both calendars, same, October? Or do you have them in front of you? Okay, sorry. What would you prefer?
I think I agree with Jeremy about just the idea of like getting grades back on track. So with the April conferences, because I think it gives April's definitely is kind of a slow month. So I think it gives students kind of a way to get back on track. So I think I would go more for that one.
Yeah, a question. Are conferences helpful for you? Do you find them useful?
Also with that, having the conferences be first and third trimester, you would have some of your core classes, which are just 2 trimesters. If you have just the first 2 trimesters have conferences, then you're going to be missing out on, at least as a parent, you'd miss some meeting the teachers in the 3rd trimester. And especially for seniors, that stuff can really matter. And so personally, like I have my econ class, that's a requirement for my graduation, and my parents aren't able to meet my teacher because we don't have conferences 3rd trimester. Also, like we were saying, that would give a bigger amount of time to get grades back up so you can get back on track. I think that one is just a stronger option.
So your vote is B?
Well, thank you. That answered my question. So I think, yeah, bringing that up, I think that changed my mind. So, thank you.
So is there a motion to adopt one calendar?
I move that the Newburgh Dundee Public School Board of Directors approve the option 2B trimester calendar as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, vote. All in favor? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is a board statement concerning the information that's become public about a lawsuit that happened in the is happening in the Jewel School District. And I'm just going to read the statement out loud. It's posted on the website. This is a statement for the Newburgh Dundee School District Board of Directors. The Newburgh Dundee School Board met in executive session on May 9th, 2024. During this meeting, we met with legal counsel regarding the complaint in the lawsuit that was filed on April 29th, 2024 against the Jewel School District. Dr. Phillips was also named as a defendant in the lawsuit because he was an employee in the Jewel School District when the actions that have resulted in the lawsuit occurred. To be clear, the lawsuit does not accuse Dr. Phillips of abuse or sexual misconduct. All board members agree that protecting students from any form of sexual misconduct and abuse while attending school in the Newburgh Dundee School District is of highest priority. The board acknowledges that there are structures currently in place within the district to prevent, detect, and respond when staff suspect sexual misconduct or child abuse involving a student. These include mandatory staff training and mandatory reporting internally as well as to external agencies such as the Department of Health Services, DHS, or law enforcement. To further promote student safety and employee vigilance in these matters, the board is taking the following affirmative actions. 1, the board instructs the superintendent to ensure that district administrators have in-depth training about boundary violations, sexual misconduct, and abuse, led by experts during the 2024-25 school year, and that this information will be shared at 1 or more staff meetings. This is intended to supplement existing staff training on these subjects, which will continue. 2, the school board will review and, if necessary, update its policies and administrative regulations regarding sexual misconduct and child abuse. The board will consider any recommended changes at its meetings by September 2024. 3, when there is evidence of an employee suspected of engaging in sexual misconduct or abuse of any kind, the superintendent will consult with the district's legal counsel in addition to assuring that the mandatory report to the Oregon Department of Health Services, ODHS, or law enforcement officials was made. Thank you to all parents and citizens who have expressed their concerns and views regarding the civil lawsuit that names the Jewel School District and Dr. Phillips as defendants. Board members take our responsibility to protect all students from abuse very seriously. Keeping students safe is a sacred trust which we solemnly take. Adopted by the Newburgh Dundee School Board members, May 14th, 2024. I will add that this was discussed in executive session. The idea of having a statement was discussed in the executive session, and it has had legal review by our legal counsel. So are there board members who would like to add anything? And if not, if someone would like to move that we accept this?
I'll move that the Newburgh Dundee Public School Board of Directors adopt a statement regarding the Jewel lawsuit as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? None? Okay, thank you. Now we have time. Now we have time for board comments, and Renee Powell is going to go first.
Oh, well, first off, I want to say that I'm sorry to the Casey family, and you all are in my thoughts and prayers. And second, I will be resigning tonight. I've been thinking and praying a lot about what I should say at my last board meeting. These last 3 years have not been easy, but rewarding. And I have learned so much. And with all the attacks and ugly stuff that has happened, there has been a lot of good. It has strengthened me, my marriage, and most of all, my spiritual life. I have met amazing people and have received letters of support and prayers from people all over the country and as far as England. I was elected based on the platform that I hope to be part of protecting the innocent of children in our schools and improving education for our students. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to do more, and I'm sure there's things I could have done better. When I voted in favor of a motion that would help with those things, I was attacked and sued multiple times by activists who didn't agree with my decision. Their opinions seemed more important than all the people who voted for me. People ask me if I would do it again, and I say yes, I would. I have a question for all of you to think about. What would you do if you ran into someone who offended, upset, or greatly wronged you? The outward expression of forgiveness can look different for everyone, but true forgiveness should offer mercy and compassion to those who hurt us. Forgiveness isn't easy. Showing compassion to someone who hurt us goes against our natural desires. At times, it can feel overwhelming, unfair, and impossible. But showing someone undeserved forgiveness and compassion is what mercy is. And that is what Jesus does for us. So I want to leave you with a blessing. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you and give you peace. And I will be praying for all of you in the district and the community, and most of all, the children. So thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Yeah, go ahead. At the end of the comments, we'll have to give some information about a replacement.
Okay, well, thank you, for your time, and, hope your next, chapter is great. Just wanted to say a couple things that came up in this meeting. Just as I know we had a public comment. I actually think Director Hayden was correct. Looking back at it, right here on our our policy here. It says personnel matters may not be discussed in public at a school board meeting. Members of the public who have personnel concerns or accommodations should share them directly with the district superintendent. So I just think in the future, if we have those kinds of things, we should be cutting those comments off, just because it had directly to do with a personnel concern. So we do have that written there. I think we're a little caught off guard. I do want to thank the public for bringing some of those things to us, both for our employee and also for those employees of his. We do take those seriously, as obviously was seen in our statement, and we've had a lot of executive sessions and things that we talk about with legal, and we've learned a lot about being employers and what that entails. So just want to say it's all being taken very seriously, and we do review these things very thoroughly. So thank you.
Start, Renee, thank you for your service. Thanks for meeting with me right after I knew I was going to be on and giving me some helpful advice and well wishes. So you will be missed. I want to say thanks to the principals for coming out. They got me very excited. I wish that we could get more of that in these meetings, because yeah, just getting excited about school. I think that they both had just great energy that makes me very excited for the youth and their students. And one thing that I got to do this last period was a math night at Joe and Austin, and just same kind of thing. It's exciting seeing kids want to go to a place and do math and hang out with their friends and be involved in their school community. So I wanted to applaud them for that, and encourage everybody to, get to see those kind of fun things that kids are doing.
So it's a busy time at the end of the school year with all sorts of fabulous activities, and I encourage everybody on the board to go find something fun to do at one of your schools. And Renee, I really hope this new season brings some opportunities for your creative side, your beautiful artwork, of which I treasure mine, as we talked about. But I hope that this new setting just sort of rejuvenates that for you. And I appreciate being on the board with you.
Yeah, I'll echo that. Renee and I have been on the board for the last 3 years, and it hasn't been easy, but I would echo what she said. It's brought a lot of good. I think, we can focus on the negative things, or we can focus on the positive things. And I try to do that, although sometimes it's hard. But I thank you and wish you and Matthew the best in your new adventure. And we'll obviously keep in touch. I want to thank the student reps as your time comes to an end and you graduate and start a new chapter in your lives. I wish you all the best for that. This won't be the last time we see each other, but look forward to attending the graduation and seeing you walk across the stage along with my own son. And I'd like to say congratulations to the trap shooting team. Seeing the consent agenda, they'll be going to the national championships in Michigan, July 10th through the 16th. And this isn't the first time that's happened, but I never seem to hear about what the results are afterwards. So I look forward to hearing those results when they get back, I guess, in August. So thanks.
Thank you, Director Wolfer, about bringing concerns about public policy or public comments. I was going to ask board leaders to seriously review that and understand what are actions that you can take if that gets out of hand. But other than that, great to hear about the school, Dundee and Ewing Young. I agree with Director Allen that there's a lot of energy that comes off those guys, and I wish I was in their schools when I was a kid. So definitely will go also watch the notables, the night of the notables this upcoming session. Also great to hear about the truth survey and all the results, or majority of them all going up in the upward direction. That's great, especially the ones in double digits. And also thank the students representatives here. You helped make a decision tonight for us and made it very clear which direction, so appreciate that. And I'll echo the same concern, same gratitude, Renee. I know it hasn't been easy. You also extended all the branch since I learned I was going to be on the board. We had a great chat, and I hope the next adventure brings you much happiness. So that's it.
I'm going to start off by saying thank you guys for having us here. I think I speak for all of us when we say this is an awesome opportunity. I'm super grateful to have been appointed to this position, and it's just been such a good time to represent the school district. As for stuff going on the 23rd of May, we've got our FFA Awards banquet, and that's who I speak for. So if you can, stop by. It'll be fun. There you go.
I want, if I'm going to interrupt, if you can just tell us your plans after you graduate, it'd be interesting.
I'm planning to go to Oregon State for forestry engineering.
Congratulations.
I don't really have much to add, and I'm also still waiting on some financial aid packages because of FAFSA getting pushed back this year. So I am not committed to any college, but I am currently between University of Oregon and University of Hawaii at Manoa. So yeah.
Some big things at the school right now with NASB, just kind of trying to keep on energy throughout to the end of the school year. So we have like a chalk day tomorrow just to have fun, have chalk around the school, just enjoy the sun. A big thing for track, we're going to state this weekend where I'm going to be competing in 2 events. So very excited for that and all spring sports coming to an end. Yeah, just very excited for these last couple weeks of high school, just soaking it all in. In my plans, I'm going to take a gap year and travel the world. So
Dr. Phillips, do you want to make your comments and then I'll.
I'm gonna read fast, but I have a lot of high school kids to brag about. High school choir was league champions, and then they went to state and placed 11th. Band also qualified and competed at state. Jonathan Rapp and Grayley Sanders both qualified for the state solo contest, both on violin. Our musical theater class just finished the production of The Drowsy Chaperone Jr., and they will be competing at Tournament of the Plays later this May 23rd through the 25th. Boys golf qualified as a team to state. And then Adelie Gregory qualified for girls golf as an individual. Boys lacrosse, coached by our very own principal at Crater Elementary. That team for 2 years in a row took conference champions. And so they'll go into state this Friday. Boys and girls tennis compete in district tournament this Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Softball made the playoffs and they will begin next week. Track and field, we had 5 individual district champions. The girls 4x100. The girls 200 meter and 400 meter. And Esther 100 meter. And then we also had Dax Dugan in the 300 meter hurdles. Gabe in the high jump. And then some other students qualified as well because they took second at districts, and that's Esther in another event, Sophia in high jump, Grayson in javelin, Isaac in pole vault, Ben in high jump. Caleb qualified as a wild card in pole vault. And so in all, we're sending 12 athletes to the state meet this weekend. Also, Gabe Bondurant, he was named the male field athlete of the year. And Sophia Castaneda was named the female track athlete of the year. And lastly, the girls were named Pacific Conference dual meet champions. So girls did a great job this year. Real quick, negotiations. We are negotiating with the teachers union right now. We have a full day of negotiations slated for next Monday. Start at 8 a.m. We'll go till 4 or 5. And I'm hopeful we can get a lot accomplished and maybe have something to present to you shortly after that for your approval. Last of all, Renee, thank you. Thanks for all your time and your effort and just I appreciate your kindness above all. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I got to see the high school play and one of our was in it. She said she was a last minute replacement. It was great. The Drowsy Chaperone Junior was fun and entertaining. And so well done to all of you who participated both on and off stage. And as we've said, between now and our next board meeting, the Catalyst students graduate on June 6th and high school students graduate on June 7th. And so congratulations to all the graduates plus all their proud parents. And so last few weeks was teacher appreciation in the district. So a hearty thank you. At the end of the school year, it's both exciting and some people are tired and a little bit weary too. And so thank you to all the teachers and staff for your excellent work this year, and you're appreciated. And now for the business that we have to take care of because Renee has resigned. Our board policy, BBE, talks about vacancies on the board. And so I'll just read this. Vacancies shall be filled through board appointment. The board appointee must be a registered voter and a resident within the district for 1 year immediately preceding the appointment and a resident of the zone for which the vacancy has occurred. If the vacancy occurs in a zone, the board shall advertise for a 20-day period to find an eligible resident from the same zone. If an eligible resident cannot be found, the board shall appoint one eligible resident from the district. And so Renee is zone 5. And there's a map on the school district. So it's the Edwards, basically the Edwards feeder area. And the board member who is selected will replace him for the remaining year of the term, which is 1 more year, because the election a year from now in 2025 would be the end of that term. And so it will be filled, and we have 20 days to, we must advertise it for 20 days in the media and on the school websites and things. And so Dr. Phillips and Deb and I have talked, and so we figure that if we have applications due by June 5th, which is a little more than 20 days from now, then on our meeting on June 11th, we could have interviews, both hopefully for student representatives and for a replacement for zone 5. And the way the people apply is they send a letter into the district office, and then we'd get them by June 5th, and we would have time to read them as board members prior to the June 11th meeting. Any questions or comments about this policy? Okay, so we will make sure that the residents in Newburgh know that there's an opening on the board, and my thank you to Renee for serving, and best wishes to you as you move to the Midwest. I hope you have some warm winter clothes. So with that, the meeting is adjourned.